Hello, this is cjhoyle. Today is Wednesday, September the 1st, 2021, and welcome to day 5 of my solo canoeing adventure on the Rideau Canal. So I spent the evening last night camped here at lock number 34 Lower Beveridges, which is on a branch of the Rideau Canal known as the Tay Canal. The time is now 6 a.m. and I didn't get to bed particularly early last night because I had a little bit of an incident, which is that when I paddled up the Tay Canal yesterday to Perth, unfortunately I left and lost my wallet in the community of Perth. Now the great news is that somebody found my wallet almost immediately after I lost it, and they've been in contact with me, and we made a plan for someone to deliver the wallet back to me later this evening at my next campsite. So my plan for today, beginning here at Lock 33 Lower Beveridges, is to rejoin the route of the Rideau Canal and head east through the town of Perth. The lock station which I'm hoping to reach is Lock 24, Kilmarnock. My distance, I think, is only going to be about 24 kilometers or so, but I believe there are going to be a total of 9 locks that I'll be going through. So it'll kind of be a race against the clock, because I want to make sure I'm there before the lock station closes, so I can make all the arrangements with my camping permit and the bathroom key or code or whatever I need to do when I get there. So the time is now 6:52, and I've got the canoe fully loaded, and now I'm ready to begin my paddling as I make my way off into the misty waters of Lower Rideau Lake. What a beautiful morning to be up and about early. So from here in Beveridges Bay, I'm going to make my way over in that direction where I'll be rejoining the route of the Rideau Canal after spending some time over on the route of the Tay Canal. So as the sun continues to rise higher up into the sky, I'm continuing to make my way over that way, planning on heading just to the right of that island. And here's a look over to the right, looking over Lower Rideau Lake. Over that way is where Rideau Ferry is, where I came through yesterday. So I'm just passing Stonehouse Island, and it looks like I've got the wind with me so far today, although it's not particularly strong, but still a welcome change from yesterday. So here I've reached the part of Lower Rideau Lake where it starts to narrow down as it heads towards the next lock station, lock number 32. And here's a look back across Lower Rideau Lake, which will be the last lake that I'll be paddling through, because beyond here things will be narrow and I'll be paddling within the Rideau River. So the time is now 8:10 and I've paddled 6.1 kilometers so far, and my plan now is to take a little bit of a break to have my breakfast before I continue. As you can see, things narrow down even more in that direction, and the next lock station is about 3 or 4 kilometers from here. So from this beautiful spot here, it is overnight oats as usual that I have on the menu with some orange juice to drink. After that delicious breakfast, I took the time to put on some sunscreen because it's definitely going to be a sunny day today. And now I'm back on the water and ready to keep on paddling that way. So up ahead there's the dam for the next lock station, and there's a canal over on the right of it which will lead me to that lock station. Up there's another one of those whistle point signs. Things are nice and calm and quiet inside this canal. And I'm just realizing I haven't yet seen any other boats on the water so far this morning. Got the whole place to myself. On one side of this canal here, there's an old stone wall, and on the other side there's a farmhouse, which is a friendly reminder that I'll now be paddling through farmland again. And up ahead there's a glimpse of the first of many locks which I'll be seeing today. And it looks like there are 4 boats which were moored here last night. So this lock is lock number 32, and it's called Poonamalie. So the distance to get here was 9 kilometers, and the time currently is 9 o'clock, which wasn't by accident. I was aiming to get here right at 9 because the lock station opens at 9, and I want to be in the first lock through because I've got a lot of locks to go through today, and locks can be kind of unpredictable in terms of how long they take. And I've been noticing that the locks here on the Rideau Canal seem to take a fair bit longer than the locks on the Trent Severn Waterway where I paddled last year. So when I got here, the lock was in the lower position and there was a boat waiting in the bottom to come up through the lock, so they've let them in. They're working on raising that boat up to this level, and then they'll open up the gates and let them out so I can go inside. So they've opened up the lock gates and they're letting this boat make its way out of the lock. So here I am inside the lock chamber, and they're closing up the gate behind me. Here he's opening up the drain valves, and here they're opening up the lock gate for me. So the time is now 9:23, which means that lock took a total of 23 minutes to get through, which is probably slower than some of the others will be because I had to wait for them to reverse the lock first. So up ahead there's a bit more quiet canal before I rejoin with the natural course of the river. So here the canal rejoins the river, and I'll be making my way over there towards the right. And as you can see, the Wind has picked up from where it was earlier this morning. It truly is another beautiful morning to be out here on the water. I'm thoroughly enjoying this trip so far. So I'm currently paddling through this scenic marsh, but around this next corner up ahead, I will soon be seeing the town of Smith Falls, which has a population of almost 9,000 people. So there's my first glimpse looking over at Smith Falls, a community that I've never really visited before. Over here to my left, I can see the Smith Falls water tower, as well as the dam. And over here to the right, there's an old railway drawbridge. And through that channel there is where lock number 31 is, Smith Falls Detached. Here's another look at that bridge, which I'm sure is no longer operating. As far as I know, the only other times when I've been here in Smith Falls were when I was taking the Via Rail train to Ottawa. I'm pretty sure though back when I took the train, it wasn't still using this old bridge. So here's a look at the Lock 31 Lockstation. Looks like they've already got the gates of the lock open so I can proceed inside, although I don't see any staff members around. Oh, I was mistaken, there is a lock staff member here and he told me to head on inside. So they're closing up that gate behind me and they're going to let me down through the lock. And when I was originally planning this trip, I thought that I might stop here in Smith Falls for lunch today. Like I said, I've never really visited Smith Falls and I was hoping to do it on this trip, but I've decided that I'll have to save it for another time. One reason is because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a little bit concerned about the time and you know, it might be a little bit tight for me to get to the lock station where I'm heading to today, which is called Kilmarnock, before it closes. But another reason is because I don't have my wallet back yet. As I mentioned, I have a plan for somebody to deliver it to me once I get to Kilmarnock. So aside from a couple of coins that I have in my backpack, I wouldn't really be able to do very much here in Smith Falls while I'm here. And here he's opening up the drain valves to let the water out of the lock down to the lower level. And here they've lowered me down to the bottom of the lock, and up at the front they're opening up the gates for me to proceed on to the next lock. Just beyond the lock there's a swing bridge here for Abbott Street. And I was reading ahead of time, because of that road crossing there, the portage route to get from the top down to the bottom right here actually goes across that road. And because they don't want it to be unsafe for people carrying their canoes and kayaks across that road there, apparently they will let anyone with a canoe or kayak go through that lock for free without having a paddle pass or paying for the lock. And like I mentioned, I won't be stopping here in Smith Falls, but that doesn't mean that I don't get to enjoy the scenery of it here in the water. And up ahead in the canal is the next lock station. Over on this side I get a closer look at the water tower, and on the other side I can see an old yellow airplane. And looking over that way, I can see where the water that was going through that dam rejoins with the canal. Smith Falls seems like a really pretty little town. So this boat that's over here on my right says Le Boat on it. And if you look along this dock here, you can see a lot of others that say Le Boat on them. So Le Boat is actually a rental company. And all along my trip, I've been seeing people who have rented those boats who are taking them to explore all along the Rideau Canal route. There's another dam over here on my left, and there's the next lock station, and it looks like they're waiting for me, so I better hurry up and get inside that lock. So back there you can see that they've closed up the gates behind me for a lock which is lock number 30, and lock number 30 is part of the Smith Falls combined locks, which is actually a flight of locks of 3 locks. So I guess the reason why they call the one that was back there the detached lock and this one the combined lock is because this one combines three locks, where that other one is detached from the rest of them. So as you can see, we're down at the bottom of this quite large lock, and at the front they've opened up the gate for us to proceed through, but I'll let this boat go first. So here I am out through the lock, and you can see that there's a bridge overhead. And looking back that way, that bridge is for Beckwith Street here in Smith Falls. So despite what I said earlier, I've decided to get out of the canoe and walk around a little bit, and that's because there are a couple of inaccuracies in what I said earlier. When I paddled into this lock, I described it as lock number 30, but it turns out this lock is actually called lock number 29A, and that's because all the things that I described earlier would have been accurate if I was paddling through here back before the mid-1970s, because back then the flight of 3 locks that were here were replaced by this single giant lock, and the main motivation for doing that was so that they could have this bridge built here, because before they would have had, bridges that had to move out of the way when larger vessels were coming through. So that explains why this lock is so much larger than any of the others in the system. It was built, 150 years later than the rest of them. And it also, I noticed that it had the hydraulically controlled electrical controls for opening and closing the gates as well as the valves. So here's a look at lock number 29A from the top. And right over there is where I came from. And what's really cool is that just beyond this lock over here, they've actually left the original 3 locks in place. Of course, they're no longer being operated, but you can actually still see them, which is pretty cool. So here you can see the upper gates for lock number 30. So boats would come inside here, and then they would be lowered down to a lower water level there, and you can see the next set of gates which lead into lock number 29. So there's another look at lock number 30 from the bottom side, which lets down into lock number 29 here. And it looks like the gates in between it and the next lock are missing, but the lock that you can see beyond there is lock number 28. And here's another look at lock 28 from the bottom side. It's kind of neat getting to see these locks without water in them. You get to see things that you don't normally get to see. And there's also this old stone lockmaster's house nearby. And here's a quick preview of some of the other old buildings of Smith Falls. So I'm back in the canoe, and I'm just going to take a little short paddle down this channel over here to the left to check out a little bit more of Smith Falls from the water. So up ahead there I can see a very old looking stone bridge and some of the downtown buildings of Smith Falls. So I believe the water which comes underneath of this bridge is the water which gets expelled from that dam that I was seeing on my left before I went through the lock station. And from what I can see of Smith Falls, it looks like a really pretty little town. I look forward to coming back here someday to explore more, but for today, I've got places to go, so I'm going to head back that way, rejoin the route of the Rideau Canal, and continue on to the next lock station. I think that might be a beaver right there that's swimming in the water. Nope, it's a mink. So the waterway continues across this pond, and over there at the other end I can see a dam, and there should be another lock station pretty soon up ahead. So up ahead there I can see the next lock station coming into view. This lock station is called Old Slys, and it's a flight of 2 locks, locks number 27 and 26. Just ahead of the first lock there's a swing bridge for a road called Old Slys Road. So I can see that the lock is up at the top, but I don't see any lock staff around, so I guess I'll have to get out of the canoe and go and find them. Alright, so they've opened up the gate and here I'm proceeding inside. So here they're lowering down the water in lock number 27. So there come the gates for me to proceed into the next lock chamber. So here I am inside of lock number 26. And just beyond this lock here you can see that there's a railway bridge, and I'm pretty sure this is for the CN railway line, and I'm pretty sure that's the bridge that I've taken across the waterway when I've made my way to Ottawa by via train before. So here they've now let me down to the bottom of the lock, and they're opening up the gate for me to proceed. So it looks like I've got a nice, quiet, calm, forested part of the canal up ahead to paddle through. So here that canal that I was paddling down back there meets up with the rest of the river, and I guess things get a fair bit wider here. Wow, you almost never see 2 great blue herons at the same time in the same lake. Lots of nice scenery along here. So the time is now 12 noon and I paddled 16.6 kilometers, and my plan now is to find a shady sheltered spot where I can stop and eat some lunch. So from this secluded spot here in the canoe, I've got some raw corn on the cob to enjoy, some peanut butter sandwiches that I just made, and if I still have room I'll try some of that maple peanut brittle that I bought yesterday. Alright, so feeling refueled and energized, I'm back on the water, and by the way, that peanut brittle was absolutely delicious. So over there on the left you can see the dam, and the pathway into the lock station is over here on the right. So this is lock number 25, Edmonds. And the lock staff there are already working to get that gate open for me to head on inside. So I'm loaded inside the lock chamber, and here these guys are getting ready to open the valves to let this water out from here. Alright, so they've lowered me down to the bottom, and here comes the gate for me to paddle out and continue on down the river. So with that lock complete, the only lock that I have left is the next one that I'm heading to, which is where I'm planning on camping. The name of that lock is called Kilmarnock. And the time is just before 1 p.m. and I paddled 18 kilometers so far, and apparently I have about another 6 to go before I get there. It really is a perfect day to be out here. The scenery is amazing, the weather is perfect. Early September weather always seems to be the best. It's not a coincidence that I've gone on vacation at the beginning of September for the last 3 years in a row. The river gets quite wide over here to the left, just sort of keeps on going as marshland. And as I learned yesterday, this probably wouldn't be a good section to be paddling through on a windy day, because marshes really don't do very much for blocking the wind. The amount of wind that I have today is almost negligible, and for the most part it's in my favor. Over here on my right I can see a farm, which has a cornfield. One of my favorite things about bike tours is riding through rural farmland like this, so it's good to also get to enjoy it while I'm on this canoe trip. The land where this farm is located is actually on an island, and it's called Kilmarnock Island, the same name as the Lockstation. So I guess there must be another path of the river that cuts through somewhere back there. The time is now about 1:30, and I think I still have another 2.5 or so kilometers left to go, but the Lockstation should be just around this corner up ahead at the northern tip of Kilmarnock Island. I must be getting pretty close to the lock because I can see some buoys for the dam already. And over there you can see the dam a little bit closer, and it looks like that dam is also a bridge across the channel. And here I've arrived at lock number 24, Kilmarnock. So I let the lock staff member know that my plan is to take the lock down to the bottom and that I'm going to camp here tonight over on the low side. And just beyond the lock gates you can see that there's a old swing bridge across the road here. So maybe if a bigger boat comes past later I might get to see them operate that. Part of me is kind of doubting that that's going to happen though, because it's been extremely quiet on the waterway today, and I haven't seen a single other boat since I came through Smith Falls. Alright, so here they're opening up the gates and I can proceed inside lock number 24. And there they're opening up the valves to let the water out. I can see that this is not a very high lock. You can see that the water level for the low side's not that much different than the high side. There come the gates, and I'm pretty sure this is the shallowest lock that I've gone through so far. So here I'm out through the lock, and this grass over here is where I'm planning on camping tonight. So it looks like my wish is going to come true. You can see that they're just starting to close the gates of the bridge. That's not let any traffic on it. And here he's picking up the hand crank. Oh, actually he's unlocking the bridge, I'm sorry. And yeah, all they need to do is just push on it, I guess. There's no crank in the middle, it's just human powered in the sense that he's pushing on the side of it. Of course they're doing that because there's another boat about to come through. They've already got the lock gates open. The swing bridge is the very last thing that they do when the boats come, because they want to keep the road closed for as little amount of time as possible. And then he's going to just chain it in place there so it stays put. So the time is now about 3:45, and down here at the bottom of the lock I've got my campsite all set up, as well as a nice place on the grass for me to lie down to relax. My last 2 days were pretty long, with quite a bit of paddling, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, I didn't get an awful lot of sleep last night, so it's kind of been nice just getting here quite early and just having the opportunity to just sort of relax and just take my time getting the campsite set up. There's really nowhere around here to walk to. There's no towns, there's no stores, there's nothing really around this area, so I'm just going to be spending the night right here at this campsite, but it's a very scenic, nice place to spend time. And the person who has my wallet has made arrangements with me to come and meet me here later this evening. So I'm looking forward to getting that back and, feeling whole again, because it feels very unusual having no wallet with you. Thankfully, though, I have all that extra food, so it's not like I'm going to starve or anything. There's a cat wandering my campsite. And there's one of those little boats heading on inside the lock with the bridge open again. And there they continue on down the waterway. So I've been enjoying a nice relaxing afternoon here at the campsite, but the time is now just about 6 o'clock and I'm starting to feel pretty hungry. So it's now time for me to dig into this blue barrel that I have and see what I can find for dinner. And there's one of the lock staff heading home, riding his bicycle. I think the lock staff must all live within pretty short distance of the lock station. So on the first course menu for this evening, I've got a cucumber for my vegetables. I've got some Stag Silverado chili, and I'm gonna have some pineapple tidbits as well for some fruit. With the spices in this chili, it's hot without even heating it. For dessert, I'm gonna enjoy some more of that maple peanut brittle and the final cookie from a bunch that I bought from the grocery store in Sealy's Bay. I think I can see a beaver swimming over there as the sun is setting and the colors become pretty. In the hopes of seeing the beaver up a little bit closer, I jumped back in the canoe and I paddled down a little bit this way, but seems to have gone into hiding. But up ahead this way you can see a preview of where I'll be paddling tomorrow on day 6. This truly is a really beautiful place to spend an evening. Now it's time to prepare my overnight oats for tomorrow. That should thicken up into a delicious oatmeal breakfast for me tomorrow. And to save me the effort of having to find my spoon when I'm eating it, I just submerge the spoon inside and seal it up like that. And then tomorrow all I have to do is pick this up, open it up, pull the spoon out, and enjoy. And the container gets sealed inside my blue recreational barrel here where I keep my other food. And the barrel can be left outside the tent overnight because they say that you're never supposed to put your food inside of your tent when you're sleeping to keep the animals away. So the time is now about 8:30 and it's quite dark outside, but I'm very excited to announce that I now have my wallet safely back in my hand again, which is quite a relief. I'll definitely be sleeping easier tonight. But anyways, it was an enjoyable day. I really liked the fact that I ended up getting here quite early and sort of had the time to just sort of relax. It's a very nice place here at Kilmarnock. It's just very sort of quiet and peaceful, and like there's a road that goes through it, but you know, it's like one car every 15 minutes or something like that, or probably even less than that. Of course, really cool getting to see the swing bridge operating, and just a sort of relaxing afternoon, which was I sort of due for after you know, the last 2 days before that, where I was, you know, paddling while setting and tying previous records for longest distances solo paddled. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed joining me for day number 5. I'm now at the halfway point of my trip, at least in terms of days, although I'm pretty sure I'm more than 50% finished the actual distance. So things should be probably a little bit, you know, not as many really long days ahead, but still lots of really nice scenery that I'm looking forward to seeing, and I'm looking forward to showing you. My plan for tomorrow is to continue further down the canal, where I'll be passing through Merrickville. That's the next community that I'll be reaching, and I'm hoping to get as far as Burrett's Rapids, which is the last lock station before there's quite a large gap between the lock stations. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed joining me for day number 5. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.